Hello everyone and welcome back to Mediac, and I'm going to say right off the bat, I'm sorry for this sort of cliche opening. What I mean by that is that every single review of this game starts with a spoiler warning for it. So yeah, spoiler alert for The Outer Wilds. I will be talking about basically every aspect of the game because it's fantastic, and more than any other video game I've ever played, your knowledge of the game will impact your experience with it. I'm going to try to bounce around with that because even so much as finding out people's opinions on certain aspects of the game will probably impact how you feel about it in that way. And I know that sounds weird, but the best way to go at this game is going in 100% blind without knowing anything about it and just experiencing it along for the ride and making your own decisions and choices and conclusions and all of that fun jazz. If you haven't played the game yet, this is your time to leave. Maybe I'm being biased because the way that I experienced it was completely blind, so maybe I'm just thinking that that's the best way to experience it because that's the only way I've experienced it. I don't know. But yeah, leave now if you haven't played the game. If you have played the game, then stick around and let's have a fun discussion in the comments section below. And without further ado, here is my review for the
I found out about The Outer Wilds because my college advisor recommended it. Originally, I was confused. Professor Tim Jones is a homie. He would never steer me wrong. But I've never heard of this game. I heard of The Outer Worlds, a game made by Obsidian Entertainment, the people who made Fallout New Vegas. To add to that, both games were released in the same year, and both were reviewed quite highly. I was worried that Tim had accidentally said the wrong name when recommending a game. After all, I'd never heard of Mobius Digital. About a year passes and I review a little cute game called Tome. A very kind commenter recommends a few indie games that they like, one of them being The Outer Wilds. Maybe Jones did say the right game. Or I guess it could be a coincidence. And then I saw a video. Actually, I didn't even watch the video. I just started it and Bricky said to leave and play it. So I left and I played it. I went to the PlayStation Store and the gosh darn game was on sale. That's Jones's recommendation, a nice commenter's recommendation, Ricky's recommendation, and on top of that, the game is on sale. 1 is an incident, 2 is a coincidence, 3 is a pattern, and 4 is a warrant. That is a very obscure Teen Wolf reference for a very small group of people out there. Alright, so now I own the game. At the moment, I only have 3 high praise recommendations and no other information about the game. I figured the game was going to be about exploration because that's just kind of how the game looked. One thing I didn't know is that it was going to be a space exploration game.
I have a very, very big irrational fear of space.
I'm not scared of the dark or the supernatural, but I am scared of space, the ocean, and sharp objects like knives. And if you know the game, then you might have noticed something comical in what I just said, but I guess I'll get to that a little bit later. Okay, so I load up the game and I see the opening screen. Immediately, I know what I'm getting myself into. I'm not deathly afraid of space. It never stopped me from playing the game, but I did get pretty anxious sometimes, and I had to actually remind myself that I was playing a game. A VR space game would actually kill me, probably. Another aspect of the game that was evident right away is the music. This game's music is incredible, every single track. The Outer Wilds theme is a part of why this game is so good. But right off the bat, the game hasn't even started, and I knew I was in for something incredible. I loaded in and explored the town. Everything was really adorable. The graphics aren't photorealistic, but I honestly prefer this. This sort of art style is timeless. Not even to mention that the environments are actually gorgeous. I'm not going to do a play-by-play of my game experience because I'm assuming everyone has already played the game. Right? TLDR of the opening, it's an insanely good tutorial section where it perfectly teaches the player every aspect of the game. To add to that, I just love the people in the town too. Everyone felt different and enjoyable in their own way. In addition, seeing the time loop twist without knowledge of it felt amazing. Dying for the first time and then being brought back really pulled me into the immersion. A few sentences ago, I said a word that is a perfect description of the game. Knowledge. In the Outer Wilds, you don't level up or open new locations or any normal game progression. In this game, you advance the story simply by knowing more. Though it's nearly impossible, technically you could beat the game on your first attempt if you're fast enough, smart enough, and lucky enough. The minute you finish the tutorial, you're able to explore the entire solar system. Ancient life forms explore these planets before you, leaving behind long-forgotten texts to decipher. And if you don't like reading and learning, then you'll probably won't like this game's story all that much. But that's perfectly fine. You just will be missing out on an incredibly amazing story. It's not very complicated, but I guarantee everyone who's explored the solar system can attest to the fact that it's an insanely satisfying story to put together. All of the dialogue is written perfectly. It's really funny, but also quite sad when it needs to be. Reading the dying message from the escaped ship was actually really sad for me. And probably my favorite pre-eye-seeing moment was meeting the Nomai on the Quantum Moon. It was a bit of an eye-opening experience, no pun intended, especially since I actually thought I was going to beat the game in that moment. I thought the way to get to the eye was through the moon, and I kinda was wrong. That just meant there was a piece of knowledge that I was just missing. Actually, getting to the eye was a bit more complicated than I expected. It also took me a lot longer than I expected. This probably was because I didn't sit down and play this game for hours on end. Even though it's a game, a fun game at that, I still get a lot of anxiety when playing it for a while, especially in Dark Bramble and Giant's Deep. The last thing I did in the game was find the vessel. I explored Dark Bramble once before then, I found Feldspar, and then never wanted to go back. Then I learned where the vessel was and promptly decided to only travel there in the future. Giant's Deep was something I really wanted to explore, but it genuinely gave me so much anxiety. No scary game has ever made me feel anxiety at all, let alone the levels I got to in this game. I mean that in a good way. I love how intense media can affect people. It's so cool. Eventually, I got over myself and explored all of the deep. It's still my least favorite planet though, but that's probably purely because of my fears. My favorite planet is probably Timber Hearth. And I know that's basic, but it has my favorite section of the lore here. The fact that the race we play as in the game was noticed by the Nomai is just so fun to me. And that gets way more interesting once you actually get to the Ash Twin project. Reading the walls instantly clicked everything together. Their project was always going to fail because the player is now doing the task that the Nomai wanted to do. It was so obviously a tragedy. Timber Hearth was also the reason why I went to the Dark Bramble for the first time. I wouldn't have gone there as soon as I did if I hadn't seen the seed on Timber Hearth. And obviously the town is great, as I mentioned before. The town is also one of the saddest parts. The moment that I found out the sun exploded, I kept thinking about them. You see, it actually took me a while to find out that there is a time limit to each loop. I probably went 20 or so deaths before I actually died to a supernova. So I guess I was about a few hours into the game whenever I realized this. I'd done certain things and then gone back to Timber Hearth to see if people reacted differently to it. It wasn't a whole lot of new dialogue, but it still built connections to these characters. And they all die? Or do they? One bit of text was really interesting to me, and it was inside of the Ash Twin project. Again, they talk about the time loop and the question on whether or not it is time travel. I think it is, and so did most of them. I know this is a game, but these concepts are so interesting to think about. Ignore fiction and just think for a moment. Hypothetically, if this was real and it isn't time travel, but moving of timelines, then this should feel like I have hundreds of lost lives over my head. Again, this is a game, but a truly good game is one that makes you question life. Media can't change you unless you think about the themes, which I guess brings me to the end of the game. Easily the best part of the game. So the end is not super action. Don't expect Feldspar to become Venom and grow wings and then 1v1,000,000 all of the anglerfish. Outer Wilds is a game that makes you think. It started that way, and obviously it'll end now. It honestly was really dumb of me to think otherwise. I thought the end would just be seeing the eye. I probably had Tome on the brain because they kind of have pretty similar premises. But unlike Tome, Outer Wilds' message isn't initially a happy one. And the first time the ending hints at it is right at the beginning of the twist. I apologize in advance because I actually don't want to give away to any of those goobers who actually haven't beat the game yet, even after my warnings. So I'm going to try my best to avoid spoilers. But the first part that made me think was the text that said, "Out of all the life forms who will perish in the oncoming death of the universe, we will miss the anglerfish the least." When I first read this, I kind of did a slight little giggle. I also hate the anglerfish, but then I realized what it meant. I unplugged the power core, which means that the time loop won't happen. and it's definitely been over 22 minutes. The initial twist fully took me out of the situation. I still was pretty confused about what was happening to my character right then and now, but I read everything in the room and I kept moving. After a few fun puzzles, the game spells it out for us in the last moment. Don't take for granted what you have before it's gone. The minute we removed the warp core, our universe was dead. In a way, I kind of felt guilt. I could have kept the loop going and they would be alive forever in a weird sort of way. It makes you think and feel gracious for those in your life. I'm not sure if anything I just said was coherent, but I just needed to show how impactful the ending was. I don't think I would have reviewed this game nearly as highly as I did if the ending was simply just seeing the eye of the universe. This game brings up tough questions and ideas, and at the end it just straight up confronts you with it. It's really sad, but in a way, it's also really happy. Okay, hear me out. I interpreted the end as us seeing the dying moments of our character shortly after he saw the eye. Like everything we are doing and playing is his imagination, and the game makers are doing a new version of seeing your life before your eyes. And that is what makes it happy. At first, it's nothing. But he continues to think and realize all of those who are a part of his life. He slowly realizes that he didn't die alone because he had his friends and his family that supported him along the way. Even the Nomai from the moon was there, and he simply said he was happy to be included, which made me happy. A man out of time still doesn't die alone. The end is really heartbreaking in the best way possible. It is just one of many examples as to the importance of media. I hope the messages at the end of this game help someone realize something and better their lives. That would just be amazing. And I don't doubt the possibility of that. This game is truly incredible. And for that alone, this game automatically gets an 8. But adding the amazing controls, incredible game progression, insanely creative planet designs, and a just phenomenal story, I would be insane to give this game anything less than a 9 out of 10. Nearly a 10, but my anxieties keep me from playing it for prolonged periods of time. And one tiny complaint is that I feel like the game got really slow as you were reaching the end of acquiring all the info in the solar system. Bam, second best game ever made. It doesn't beat Titanfall 2 because that's one of my favorite games of all time. The Outer Wilds didn't make that list, but it was really damn close. I will never forget about this game, which is insanely high praise. So I guess I'll address the DLC-sized elephant in the room. I haven't played Echoes yet, but I will make a review video solely on that whenever I get around to playing it. The quality of the DLC can actually move the game all the way up to a 10, but I guess I'll just explain that in that video. But I am putting it on the record that I will eventually do the DLC.
I have never played a game like The Outer Wilds. There are a few things that are pretty consistent with the best video games ever made, one of which is whether or not your friend will have the exact same experience as you. This usually comes down to a combination of choices or actions made throughout the playthrough. The Outer Wilds is the only game that I know of that your experience is based on what you know, whether that be knowledge of the game, the mechanics, or even opinions on the game. I experienced this game blind. I bought it off of a few recommendations. I put the story together in my own way and came to my own conclusions as to what the end means to me. I thought about life and my place in the universe after completing this game. It had a huge impact on me and how I think about problems in my life. But there is a very good chance that not a lot of people feel this way about the game. I told my brother to play it because I think about the end every single day. He also had no knowledge of the game apart from what I just said. After playing it, he loved the mechanics, thought the Ash Twins project puzzle was stupid, and had a great time with the game. However, his expectations going into the end caused him not to like it as much. Even though Austin doesn't share the love for this game like me, it was amazing hearing how different of an experience he had when playing. I'll give him room to say his opinions about it right here. I feel like I actually ruined the game by talking to you about it. So
really, I don't think you told me anything about it like that was like significant to the plot development, except for the last part. The last part you walked me through, but like also you had to do that too. So like,
well, yeah, no, not the. I didn't mean like the Ash Twins. That one's
Ash Twins project. Yeah,
I meant
that. That's just
that one was stupid. But I meant like the end of the game. Like I felt like I hyped it up too much, and it made it to it didn't have as much of an impact with you.
It was a different impact than I was thinking. Like I think it was I think you hyped it up to a good degree. I think I just had something else in mind for what was coming. Like, I think you hyped it up from the perspective, like from like an artistic, like viewpoint. Like, it is beautiful, it is amazing. I think I was expecting this like end of movie climax type thing,
right?
Which is like. I'm like not a bad thing. It's just it was more of an open-ended like ending, and it just kind of left a lot up to like the reader, or not the reader, but the viewer, player, however you want to say it. Audience, yeah, which I think is awesome. And I think the way they did it was like very representative of the game itself. Instead of me thinking it was going to be the climax, it's more like the falling action type thing. You've completed the main goal of what you were trying to do. You've assembled the story, and now here's your reward.
I don't even know if I would consider it like I guess it is a reward because you're like seeing something, but the biggest impact that I have from the end of the game is the inevitability of all of the characters' deaths.
I think that is just something where we differ in like our view of the game, or really just view on death, actually, or like the end of the universe.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it's almost meaningless, because death isn't like something that has meaning besides the people who remember you. Like, it's not like you're going to be sad that you die. I mean, we're getting to the religious perspective here, but like, in reality,
no, but that's what the game makes you think about that. At least it made me think about that in that aspect, because it forces you. Okay, let's actually get into this interview.
I am Austin McAlpin. I am Zach's brother, creator of Mediac. I got introduced to this game once again from the guy next to me, whichever direction.
It doesn't matter.
But I mean, I think you did a great job at introducing me to it, because you needed to have this balance of like not telling me anything about it, but also getting me to play it. So like we talked about briefly about like you thinking like you hyped up the ending too much, but like you needed to do something. You needed to give me like a point to playing this game. You're like, it is one of the most like the best games I've ever played. Like, I can't tell you anything about it, but you need to play it. And you said it just enough times where I was just like, I gotta play, because I value your opinion. I'm like, I know that when you're saying that, like I truly believe that I'll have that same experience, and I did. It was really just about me taking the time to do it, because I know that like for me, a lot of the times like video games is something that I do to like connect with my friends, or you and like whoever. So like when I'm on and not doing other things, like it's just hopping on to like Rivals or Rainbow or Rocket League whenever we used to play that. So like taking the time to play a solo game was like something that I needed to know that I could dedicate the time to. Yeah, I spent like an hour and a half playing the little drone thing that you for the spaceship.
Did you get the achievements for it?
I know, because I sucked at it.
Oh, no.
I played it for so long. I just kept crashing into stuff, because like I wanted, like in what you said, like it could take like 22 minutes to finish this game. I'm like, I want to do that. Like, I want to do as good as I can and not just die for no reason.
That's what I thought the hook was going to be for you, because I know that you're competitive. I lied, because I knew that there's no way you could do it in 22 minutes. I was like,
yeah, it's impossible. It's totally impossible.
Unless I was like, if you're lucky enough, you could beat it in 22 minutes. I was like, that's going to be what gets him.
And that'd be the most unrewarding playthrough that you could possibly have. Like, especially, even if you didn't cheat and happen to do that the game would suck in my perspective. If an infinite amount of people play, someone's going to do it by accident.
That's the put 1,000 monkeys with 1,000 typewriters, and eventually one of them will write Shakespeare. Yeah.
Exactly.
I bet, totally.
I needed to play everything. Like, I knew that this was going to be something like that you kind of presented as like you need to pick up and like do things, and it was really up to the player to be able to beat the game. I was like, okay, detective mode. I'm going to talk to every single NPC on what was the plan? I had the map up on Timberhearth. Yeah, I was like, I'm going to talk to every single NPC. I'm going to go and fly the drone for like however much time I did, and it was an insane amount of time, and I was really bad at it and really scared to actually get like flying. And so I spent like a lot longer than 22 minutes on my first playthrough. Because remember, you don't like actually start the loop until you look at the statue and it's like eyes glow. So like I spent so long. You didn't know that?
No.
Oh yeah.
No. So what happened in my playthrough? I just started exploring everywhere, and I jumped into one of the water spout holes, and I drowned within 8 minutes. And I died immediately. But then I skipped over all the 8 minutes of talking that I did previously. So then I got up to the statue, and then I flew up to the moon and I crashed and I died. And that was, I think, 18 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, I realized that like it was on my first playthrough, and I like had done like I did all the like pre stuff, and it was really confusing because I spent so long doing the like investigation stuff, and there didn't seem to be any time limit. Finally, like got in the spaceship. I think I went to the moon too, and I was like flying around, just going like different planets. I'm trying to remember what other planets I went to because it was the moon first. I like didn't find anything significant, which obviously there was.
What did you think of the tutorial as like a whole?
It did a really good job because there's very little you actually need to know going in that you don't pick up along the way. I'm gonna forget names so much through this. What's the civilization of like the people that
Nomai?
we're a part of?
The Harthians.
Yeah, the Harthians. Like they're such a vibe, you know? Like they're
Yes,
just so
dude.
chill. Like they're just like, yeah, we're gonna chill. We're gonna smoke. Or not smoke. We're gonna like burn some marshmallows. They probably do that. Move around. They just went to different planets. You got to a certain age, and it's like instead of you get your driver's license, you get your spaceship license, and you go off to the different planets and just have a great time. They're just vibing until they all die, you know?
Since we were talking about the Harthians, did you ever like go back to them and talk to them after experiencing things throughout like the time loop and trying to get different conversation topics out of them?
See, that was like one of the biggest things I started with was like they mentioned the device where you could like point in different directions and there was like a different song playing for different people on different planets. And like in my mind, that was like the first biggest clue that I'd want to go to. And like I was interested by them and like it was like fun talking to them. But like a lot of them were not, I don't want to say this in like a bad way, but not super helpful to figuring things out. The translator in my mind is the biggest thing. Like that's like what you need to understand the stories, to understand the Nomai and like everything that they did and were trying to do. They're just vibing. I think after like talking to each of them like once or twice, and like I always do that things with video games, especially in like plot driven ones where like I click all of the different options for speaking to them. So after going through like once and like checking all of those options and either not getting any useful information or like getting the information that I could out of them, I didn't really go back to them much. I was like, that's probably also where our differencing in grief at the world ending comes from as well. In reality, you kill them like hundreds of times.
I know,
throughout the game. Like that's like if you weren't upset at the end, like I know like the big argument is like, okay, yeah, they died, but like they got to get like revived and like live again through the time loop, but like they didn't experience that. Like that's they die either way after 22 minutes. How they handle just like quantum theory in this just like was really cool to me. And it was something that you helped me out with too. I think that was one of my favorite parts of the playthrough was the like learning on what was it? Giant's Deep? Is that the one?
Yes.
Yeah, that was Giant's Deep.
Yeah.
Like with the photography and how to handle like the rocks that were moving. When you observe something, it has to stay in that actual state, but when you don't, it can be effectively it's in both and neither. That's something that like we like touched on in like physics in college, and like I've always just been really interested in, and like it doesn't like dive into like the nitty-gritty details, and it's not like a lecture in any way, but it handles it in this like cool sci-fi way that like helps you learn but also like isn't too forceful about it. It's just here's this simple concept and you get to use it really, really well with this. And I just love like the taking pictures, and it is real. It is real to like, I mean, it's not real in the giant rock is going to move or the move's going to move type of sense with like certain subatomic particles. Like it is. And it's an interesting concept that like makes, I don't know, I think anything that makes learning like fun, especially things that are kind of hard to handle, is great. It's fun, and it's like it's not just the act of learning, but it's the reward that you get. I know that like watching like the whole recap video thing, or not that I watched the recap video, but like a recap like writing of it, of the Nomai's perspective of it, and I thought that it was nice to see it in like a full cohesive way, especially after not playing for like a couple months. It's like honestly a little bit sad, but it's also kind of cool, like the futility and like everything that they did. And maybe it's just something I forgot, but like in the comment, like basically like the extinction of their civilization. Like, do you remember that? Like, do you know what I'm getting at?
I don't think so, no.
What caused the end of this civilization, though.
The Dark Bramble, right? Wasn't it? Because it came in through the
No.
interloper.
So that's part of it, but really what the end of it was the ghost matter from the comet. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I didn't get that either, and like it's tough. It is tough at sometimes trying to piece together the story, and
Yeah.
I once again I could be wrong about this. And the person on Reddit I read, it does make sense.
So many times
though.
I kept thinking like, how the hell does this like connect into the story, and other than just like a game obstacle, you know?
And they basically like cracked
Good.
the like container of it, and every single living thing in the entire solar system got infected and died, except for the Hearthians, because it didn't affect things underwater, and that's why they were able to continue and develop and grow, and that's why they're the only thing like alive in the solar system now.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
That's
see, that's
awesome.
like I'm like it's nice being able to experience it yourself, but like I recognize that there were gaps in my story that I wanted to have filled coming into this. I liked it, and it was sad for the Nomai, but I don't know. It's nice to be able to continue it and do it in their honor. I like Giant's Deep and getting to the center of Giant's Deep, like having to like go in the water and then learning about like the jellyfish and having to like go in the tentacles which don't sting you and then like follow it down and be able to get to the center of it. And like, well, actually, first it's you have to go figure out the hurricane / like tsunami type thing, like which one's spinning in the opposite direction, so it pulls you down instead of shooting you up. I was like, oh, that's cool, and I thought that was really rewarding because I spent a while on Giant's Deep just with finding nothing. Oh yeah, you said that one was the scariest to you. I feel like Dark Bramble is the scariest to me. I didn't realize that the anglerfish were like kind of they're big, but like they're small. Like they're really just heads.
Yeah.
I thought that they were like these long worm-looking motherfuckers, and you just saw the heads, and like somehow like learning that they weren't that made it less scary to me. But yeah, that like freaked me out because I like. You never really see them coming. The sound that they make is terrifying. Learning that they were blind is cool. I think my favorite part of the game is the breakthroughs. Like it's like going through and trying something a lot of different times, and not being able to do it, and then saying like, okay, I'm gonna take a break and do something else, and finding the hint that you needed there, so you can go back, do the actual puzzle or challenge, or get to the destination you want to get at. And the flying. The flying was fun. I love the mechanics of the spaceship, like, and like getting good at that. That was really fun. I feel like the indie games have just been putting out like bangers after bangers, and now it's like that's the standard. It's like you want a good complex game with solid mechanics and a great story. Don't buy a game that is $70 and made from 50,000 people working on it anymore because they're all BS. Like my least favorite part of the game, I think, came from user error more than anything else. Like it's like what I said before of like the not being able to make those connections. I think the base on the sun's kind of a great example of it. Like you have something where it's like, I think this is a mechanic issue, a skill issue where I just need to get it right. And you put a lot of time into that, and like I can't think of other examples, but for the sun base, I'm like I'd put a lot of time into that, and you found out that you just need to get teleported there. So like in some instances, like yes, it's hard, it's difficult, like you need to go through and do this, and then in others with seemingly the same difficulty, you don't really. Like there's another better way to do it. Some of the ambiguity became a little bit frustrating sometimes. I mean, I think what you were expecting, and realistically, what I would change about the game, and probably the worst part is the Ash Twins project, like it being really impossible to like. I want to go back and like figure out where it actually tells you. It's like, okay, on the specific instance, you have to be running and jump into like this teleporting thing. You can't be standing there, and if you go 1 second later, 1 second early, you can't do it. That being such a fundamental like part of beating the game, like there were so many parts of this game that you can beat it without knowing, and that being the one that is integral to beating the game made it a little bit frustrating, like that you needed to tell me basically how to beat the game. Yeah, I studied all of this, and then all of a sudden like the actual answer I was never going to find anyway. That is probably realistically the worst part, and the part I would change.
I believe that everything that you're seeing up until you get teleported into the museum is probably what he's actually seeing. And then
wait. I teleported into the museum. Why am I not remembering this? I just watched the end of the game. Like you're in the forest.
Yeah,
and like
right
you go
before
through and do a bunch of
forest.
stuff. Oh, before the oh, sorry, I forgot that part completely.
Dude, that's my favorite part of the game.
I'm sorry. I haven't played in a while. Yeah, you read everything that happens like in the
Yeah.
solar system. Like it's like a filled out version of like the museum. My bad.
Yeah.
I was thinking you meant specifically like the forest and like
Well,
the end of
filled
the
out and
universe and all
depressing
that.
because it talks about how everything's dead.
I think it's a weirdly deep type of thing.
Mhm.
And like especially from a game that like it's learning, yes, but like it's about having fun along the journey. Like
Mhm.
that's really what the game is.
Oh, yeah.
Like yes, it can be frustrating. Yes, like it'll take you hours and hours to figure out this puzzle, but like the point is that you should be having fun along the way, like piecing it together, and that's like great. And that's kind of like the same thing. Like once you step into like the shoes of the actual like player, the Hearthians, like in this is like, yeah, they've been putting together like this knowledge, and yeah, the Nomai have too, have been trying to like figure out what the Eye of the Universe is. I think when I think about like the end of the game, like I like that part, and I think that's kind of like once again telling of our differencing and perceiving either the Hearthians or just really the grief of it all. In my mind, even if they were real, it's the same outcome. Like you mentioned at the beginning of this, like it was going to happen. The end of the universe will happen. And the fact that you as like the player or like one of the Hearthians get to experience it in this like climactic, beautiful way where and when you actually end the game, it feels like you're causing the end of the universe because you don't get to like actually go through and do the loop anymore. And in like the player's perspective, it is the end of the universe. But like in reality, in every single playthrough you've been through, there's always been the end of the universe. It's just you got to experience it again and again. But like the loss that's experienced every single time of the people, like no one's got to live 23 minutes past whenever you woke up from that nap on Timber Hearth. Like that's just how it is. I thought the museum was really cool, and it was like a good like kind of summary of everything that they had done, but I liked the final playthrough of like the forest, going through each of those little tiny baby puzzles that seem like so easy compared to like the rest of the game that you've done. Like it just feels like these little like dopamine rewards for like being able to get to like that point. Like that's when I say that like that ending is kind of like a reward. It's basically in my mind the universe's thank you to it being able to off itself now. The interpretation that it gave, which I'm like I kind of agree with, kind of don't. Like I don't think it didn't really explain what you were seeing. Like I think that was like one of the biggest disagreements we had when finishing the game, because you just think the entire end sequence is just the player dreaming it. But that's like I think that's once again I think the biggest disagreement is because you're seeing it as this like internal thing, and in my mind it's externally being given to him. Like it is the eye of the universe's
actually
reward.
teleported.
No, I don't think it's a physical realm, but I'm saying it's not like a dream. It's not seeing your life flash before your eyes. I'm saying it is the universe recognizing the journey that him and all of the other people have built up to get to this point, to allow really the first person in all of the time loops, in all of, I was going to say human history, but all of history of the universe, of seeing the eye of the universe. Like it was this infinite concept that was simplified for a finite being type of thing. Like you can't perceive the actual reality of the universe, but the universe was saying like, I'm going to create this 8 billion page summary paper and just condense it into this SparkNotes version that this little baby Hearthian can understand. And that's what he saw the end of the universe in like this tailored way that the universe was giving to him as a reward for basically figuring everything out. Well, I guess it depends on your definition of the dream, because my big claim, it is as real as something can be. The whole idea of like your life flashes before your eyes, it's just this stimulating of neurons that fire in different ways that show you kind of this blurred version of your life, where it's a whole internal thing, or at least that's my interpretation of like like flashing of life. I think the big difference between our thing is whether or not it's real. Like I'm not saying the place he goes to is physically real, but I'm saying the information being given to him is from the universe itself.
Okay.
And that's really, and like it can be a dream. I'm like, it really depends on what you define as dream. I think in a way it kind of is one. I'm just saying I think that dream was given to him by like this higher power of the universe.
I like that. I actually think I'm gonna run with that from now on.
Just like with the Nomai and getting obliterated along with everything else in the universe from the ghost matter, and the Herthians being able to come up and kind of like evolve themselves, and then being able to take the place and like pick up the little pieces that the Nomai left and continue forward with it. That was like what you asked about on the Reddit. They were saying is like you see these like little blips of light like kind of go out around you as you're like around the campfire with your friends and the Nomai and everyone, and it's like beautiful. And you're seeing this and you realize that like those are stars, like this is the universe itself dying in front of you, and everything we know and love and all the people in it all die too. But it's this cycle that just continues. Yes, it's sad that the people die. Yes, it's sad that the Nomai didn't get to do what they wanted to do, but it's the cycle. Like it's life. That's how it is. You have to have the sadness in order for like the happy parts to matter. And like once again, back to the whole point of the game, it's the journey that matters. It's the learning. It's the fun that you have along the way. And yes, it leads to a sad conclusion, but it's also a new beginning, which is really what the Reddit was saying. I don't
That's
know
exactly
if I
what it
agree
is.
with that.
You don't think that's
Yeah,
what it is? So like,
Well, I don't think I shouldn't say that. I think more than likely, just once again, with understanding of the universe and how we like kind of know it as it is, and overall theorized, I should say, that how it is, that more than likely when the universe ends, it's just a continuation of this cycle when another universe is going to begin. I don't think that's blatantly said in the game.
We
That's
see
why
it,
I
though.
say it. Do we?
I
What do you
think
mean?
So
Like we see all the lights go out and like that's
And then
really
they come
like,
back,
it.
but-
I'll rewatch it. Yeah,
So-
this is from my memory that's like distorted after a couple months, so I believe you if you
you're okay. What would you rate this game out of 10?
9.7.
That is very specific and also quite high. Love to see it, man. That's awesome.
I don't play a lot of most of my comparisons are like I said, like Rainbow Six Siege, Valorant, Marvel Rivals. So I'm
Fair.
like, I want to die when playing those games.
Yeah.
Genuinely, I don't think I can say I've played a more enjoyable, like rewarding game than this. Like in my life, I don't like. I mean, you've played most of the solo player games I played were like when we were younger, so like
Yeah.
probably the same ones you have, and like it's like a lot of like COD campaigns or Halo or like
Batman.
I'm trying to even think Batman. Oh, Spider-Man. I'll go Spider-Man. Spider-Man. The first Spider-Man is amazing, and that might be a little bit higher, but like. I think it's more just me commending it for it being so different and just so rewarding. And I love the mechanics. I love the animation style. I love how condensed everything is. Like it is like within those 22 minutes, you could go to every planet. You can do much at every planet, but like it's very easy to jump from one to another. I don't know. The only reason I knock it down from a 10, honestly, is like some of those frustrating moments like the Ash Twins project. It's frustrating, but you need to be a little bit frustrated in order for the reward to feel like a reward. I can't even say play it because if you watched it to this point, we ruined it.
Yeah.
Sorry if you haven't seen it. It's a great game. You know what? Still play it because technically we didn't say exactly how to do it. Just ignore this interview. Go get like your head like slammed in from like a refrigerator door. Like forget the last hour or whatever it is and play the game. It's worth the brain cells you'll lose from a concussion.
Very true. Very true. All right. Bye.